Let's read the world with Gaspar Nyanga. Gaspar Nyanga, the first liberator of the Americas. El Guerrero Nyanga, the loving, courageous African warrior, organized his people to build a maroon community in what is now called Veracruz, Mexico. But what is a maroon community? And why was Nyanga called the first liberator of the Americas? First, let's look at how a very young man of West African royalty ended up in what we now call Veracruz, Mexico. When Nyanga was born in West Africa almost 500 years ago, in the year 1545, Mexico wasn't called Mexico. The land that we know as Mexico was home to millions and millions of indigenous peoples with their own languages, cultures, and names for their own people and for the lands that sustained them. Across the Atlantic Ocean in a country called Spain, the government was sending conquistadores, or colonizers, to steal indigenous people's land and anything else that they could take to make them rich. Spanish conquistadores started wars with indigenous communities in Mexico and said, "We are going to call all of this land New Spain." To help them get rich, they sailed in their boats from Spain to West Africa and kidnapped as many people as they could and brought them to indigenous lands in what we now call Mexico to make them work for free. Nyanga was one of these people who was kidnapped from West Africa. Nyanga, a young, courageous African man with a huge heart, loved his people and his freedom too much to be bullied like this. His purpose on earth was not to work for kidnappers and colonizers. He respected himself, his people, and the indigenous people of Mexico too much to play their game. So he organized with his companions to take what they needed from the colonizers and escape into the highest mountains in Mexico, where they could build their own safe and free maroon community. If they needed any supplies, they would raid the plantation, stealing what they needed from the same Spaniards who exploited African people and forced them to work. Protected by each other and by the mountains, the African Maroons grew their own foods, grew their own medicines, and they kept each other safe. The colonizers tried to fight them, but Nyanga and his community's army were way too organized and strong, so the Spanish realized that they had to make a deal. The Spanish colonizers knew that they had lost, and they gave up trying to force Nyanga and his community to work as slaves. The Maroons won. They stayed free in their maroon community in a city that is now called Nyanga, Veracruz, in his honor. Over 400 years later, the great-great-great-great-grandchildren of the Maroons and the people of Veracruz, Mexico, are proud to learn about Gaspar Nyanga, the first liberator of the Americas. Now let's read our poem. Nyanga reminds us of what we have deep within, a knowing, that we aren't owned by men. Nyanga, he helped us to see how to live free in a place with that knowing, a maroon community. A place where we care for the people and plants. A place to elude their maps and search lamps. A place where we nurture a life without strain and show the invaders not to try it again. Nyanga, you taught us to never stand down, to know. Together, freedom can be found. We see Gaspar Nyanga in you. Think about it. Where would you build a maroon community? How would you find food, medicine, and safety?